My name is Alistair Lee. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest Adobe Connect add-in for Microsoft Outlook. You can find that add-in, by the way, from our homepage. If you scroll down to the bottom and look at the resources, there's a link for downloads and updates. And on this page, click on the additional downloads link to go directly to the Microsoft Outlook add-in. Here you'll find both a 32-bit and a 64-bit version, depending on the version of Windows that you've got. Once you've installed, it'll show up in your Outlook under the Add-ins menu. So from the Home menu, click on Add-ins, and you'll see 4 icons from the home screen. You'll be prompted immediately to go in and set up your Adobe Connect server. This only has to be done once, then it will be remembered. So I'm going to click on Preferences here. I've already set one up, but I'm going to change that so we can take a look at the setup process. And as you can see, we can actually add multiple servers if you do happen to have multiple Adobe Connect accounts. I'm going to click on the Add Server button and enter a brand new server here. Click on Add Server and OK. This is going to ask me to log in. I'll type in my password. And as you can see, it automatically brings a listing of all of the different meeting rooms that I've got on that server. I've got a few different capabilities here. I can set one of these existing meeting rooms as my default meeting room. And in fact, the one at the very top happens to be my default personal meeting room. So now that I've set it, it shows up as the default. I can even create a brand new room here. If the meeting room I want doesn't exist here, I can create something from scratch. We're going to call this a war room. Give it a custom URL. And even decide which audio conference information I'd like to use. I'll hit OK. And you can see this war room now exists in my list. I could make that the default if I'd like. I'm going to switch back to my personal meeting room though. There's a couple of things I can do here. For example, I can edit the room if I want to change the audio conferencing information that's being used. I can also customize the invitations. These invitations are being sent out from Outlook. And at this point, I can customize the template that's being used to send them. You can see that this lists quite a bit of information, including links to test Adobe Connect. I'm actually going to get rid of this and maybe move the URL for my meeting room up at the very top. Actually get rid of this as well. You can see here it's already started to include, though, my conferencing information. I can edit that as well if I'd like to change what that says. I'm going to click OK. I'm happy now with the way that looks. And I'll click on Close. So now I can certainly start adding some new invites, but you'll notice even if I use the standard way of creating a brand new appointment inside of Outlook, we've got an Adobe Connect section to our menu. And this comes in handy for a few different things. First, I can easily paste the meeting URL into either the location bar or the body text of the meeting invite that I'm sending out. In addition to the URL, which actually I think works well in the location field, I can paste my meeting room text right into the body of the Outlook invitation. And if I do that, instead of just the URL, it's got a description, it's got that customized text that I set up when I was setting up my room. If I don't want to use my default room, I can select a different room to use. And again, this will pull up that same list of meeting rooms that we were looking at earlier. I can even create a new appointment based on one of these meeting rooms. And if that meeting room doesn't exist yet, I can create it directly from the Outlook add-in. And this is the same dialog box that we were just looking at, giving me the ability to create a room on the fly. From this add-in, I've also got the same preferences that we were looking at earlier. So I can customize the invitations if I'd like right from here, or change the audio conferencing provider I'm using for my room. This makes it extremely easy to send out Outlook invitations for a persistent room that you've got on the Adobe Connect server. Since Adobe Connect rooms are persistent, it doesn't make sense to go and schedule them on the server. It's easier to use something like Microsoft Outlook and the add-in for Outlook to quickly schedule and invite people to your Adobe Connect meeting room. Thanks for your time.